Hey, what's going on today, guys? It's Nathan here from Matt Kite, and today I'm here to help you walk through the mess of foils for your boat. We've been getting a lot of phone calls over the last few years about what foil is right for my boat or my riders or whatever. And we wanted to kind of focus on something very high level, something that's gonna not necessarily get too specific for you and your setup, but more of like an overall understanding of how foils apply to riding behind the boat. So one of the things that we learned is that, a foil is not necessarily just a foil, right? This applies to surfing, to kiting, and even boating. When you purchase a hydrofoil, it might be made for some sort of specific situation, and what we want to talk about today is how each and every hydrofoil is going to either apply or not apply to your situation, whether it's your boat, your riders, or anything like that. So let's dive right into it. So guys, this video is going to dive into some pretty broad and overarching topics. We want to make sure that you're following along completely. And if you go ahead and click on the upper right-hand corner of the screen, click that eye icon and that will direct you to the blog. And you can follow through with that. It will have some more specifics, some recommendations in there, but if you want to get a little bit more specific and have a little more detail focused, you can feel free to call the shop and we can walk you through what the right setup is for you and your setup. We've developed what we think are 3 overarching categories that will help really segment the entire foil market as it relates to boating. And the first of which is the popular one, right? It's what everyone wants to do. It's riding without the rope behind the boat. Now these foils are large, right? They're from the Infinity 76 and on up because they take the ultimate glide to kind of get going and riding without the rope or without the aid of any pull because you're using those wakes behind the boat to ride. The second category is kind of a little bit of a broad one. We'll just call it all around. So this would be something that's like middle of the road, not really high performance, not a ropeless foil, but an all around. So something like the H2, where someone that's lightweight can use it, someone that's a little bit heavier can learn on it, and it will work for a variety of boats, whether it's a pontoon or a full-on surfable wake boat. Now the third category would be high performance, and this is a pretty small segment of the market. These are people that are going to want to ride in that like upper teen speed behind the boat, using the rope the entire time, maybe putting straps on the board, getting air outside of the wake, trying to do handle passes, just higher speed sort of stuff. And there's definitely a contingency of people that like to ride this style. A lot of water skiers, I imagine, tend to find themselves in this sort of category, the slalom guys and ladies. So with those 3 categories, that will help you kind of dissect what makes sense as far as the entire foils go. Now the difficulty is putting those categories in terms of relation to your boat and your riders. Now there's a lot of different styles of boats that we're getting calls from people that they want to ride foil behind, whether it's a jet ski or a pontoon boat or even a small outboard boat, or a center console boat, or a full-on yacht, or a surf boat that's designed for wake surfing behind with an entire ballast system. And each and every boat has its own limitations, right? The goal of the foil is just to be able to get up and ride and feel that sensation of foil, but depending on what type of foil you are, you're either a ropeless guy or a high performance or a all-around, you might need or have to use a certain boat to be able to do that sort of style. So that ropeless sort of style necessitates a certain power in the wake. So that kind of leaves those jet skis and those pontoon boats in general behind. Now you can kind of make some foils work behind those types of boats, but that's a very small category. And then the other side of it too that you want to look at and consider is rider weight. Now, dad that's 220 pounds is going to ride at a different speed and on a different foil than the kid that's 110, something like that. So you really have to consider rider weight into this entire equation as well, because the kid that's 110 pounds might be able to go ropeless behind a boat with an all-around foil, where dad is going to need one of those ropeless style full-on surf foils to be able to go behind that same boat. So it's something to consider as well when you're outfitting your boat. Now, ultimately, a lot of you are going to ask, like, what's the safe play, right? Like, if I'm looking at getting into hydrofoiling behind the boat, what's the ultimate pick? I think that all-around category makes the most sense. So foiling is exciting, right? Like, we're doing things behind the boat that no one 10 years ago dreamed of doing. It's unbelievable. The dynamic of hydrofoiling behind the boat is absolutely crazy. And whether you see it from the shore or from behind the boat or with that rope in your hand, it's an incredible sensation and really unique. So you're gonna really wanna get everyone involved, and people are gonna be pounding on your door and filling up your boat with gas for you to try to get out there and experience the sensation of hydrofoiling behind the boat. So that all-around foil category really allows you to get anyone involved into hydrofoiling. So whether it's a lightweight kid or a dad that weighs 250 or anyone, like pretty much anyone can get out there and learn and progress and ride that all-around style foil. Now, if you have a high-performance foil, that can tend to be a little bit more difficult to learn on, or it takes higher speeds or a bigger motor or anything like that to get up and riding. And if you have a surf-style foil or a ropeless foil, one of the bigger ones, then that tends to eliminate a lot of the lighter weight people, just because that foil creates too much lift. And when you weigh a certain amount, then you can't create enough downward pressure, and that foil is going to come right up and out of the water. It's just almost impossible to learn on. So that's where those all-around foils are really the direction that we like to take people out of the gate. And then from there, then you can kind of figure out, how much power your boat's wake has if you want to go ropeless, how close you are to being able to go ropeless, and then which foil you should branch out to from there. So now that a lot of you have considered either moving forward with hydrofoiling, or you might have a hydrofoil already in your boat, that next step is understanding that, like we explained, not each and every foil will work for every situation. Now, you're outfitting your own boat, right? Most of the time, you're not going to be transferring foils between boats. Sometimes you may. It's actually easier to learn behind a jet ski than it is behind a larger boat, because you can do quicker turnarounds and all that sort of stuff. So it's nice to have options, but we kind of don't want to put this idea in your head that you have to have all these different options for different people. It's just that if you're the type of person that has a lot of get-togethers at your house and you have a wide variety of people that are going to be enjoying the foil behind the boat, that you might consider having different options for different rider weights or different abilities or anything in between. That applies to boards too, which is a whole nother topic, but the foil specifically, it is actually helpful to have different foils for different applications, mostly different riders behind that same boat, and just a different feel. There are some people that prefer that high performance speed. So if you're the type of guy that's mastered ropeless foiling and you want to check out what it's like to go 20 miles an hour on the foil and try to pop out of the water, then you're going to need a different foil to be able to do that most of the time. You can breach on some of the bigger foils, but to be able to go 20 and launch out of the water is something totally different, and kind of reminiscent of those air chair days that I'm sure some of us have had. Now, guys, if you have any questions about any of this, want to dive into it a little bit deeper, feel free to give us a ring and we can walk through your specific application. That's ultimately where a lot of people should be starting is, what's best for me? And we can talk about what boat you have and what sort of riders you might imagine would be enjoying the foil behind the boat, and we can specifically grab you the perfect foil for your setup. And if you guys want to read more into this, want to learn a little bit more outside of what this video is covering, click that eye icon in the upper right hand corner, and that will direct you to the blog and a lot more information regarding hydrofoiling behind the boat. Now guys, thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned to the channel. We're going to really dive hard into the boat foiling market this summer, and we're super excited. It's our 3rd year into it, and I think the possibilities are really endless. We're gonna see some crazy things happening, some crazy videos getting tossed around, and some people really taking advantage of riding without the rope behind the boat or doing that high performance sort of thing. So stay tuned, get excited. We're all excited about taking those wetsuits off and enjoying those nice summer evenings behind the boat foiling. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.